I cheated on my partner of 1 year with my most recent ex when we fucked while eating lunch. Switched to my old account here because my partner knows my other one. Let me set the scene. First of all, I've been cheated on before and felt horrible on the receiving end of it. I never imagined myself as ever being a person that would cheat on someone, since it had happened to me. I'm writing this because I just have to get this off my chest. I know I'm a bad person for it, but the temptation was too great. I've been with my current partner a little over a year now, and things have been amazing in almost every regard. She and I have a lot of similar interests, support, and care for each other well, and just have incredible chemistry. I know she is committed to me 100%, which makes me feel all the worse. When we met, she was a virgin who had never masturbated and doesn't even use tampons. When she's on her period, she only uses pads, so overall pretty sexual inexperienced. Not to be that guy, but I'm pretty well endowed, a little over 8 inches, and had several previous sexual partners. My size had been a problem for a few of them, but none so bad as my current partner. Don't get me wrong, I totally understand that it's a crazy change to go from a virgin who had never had anything inserted into her straight into sex with a big dick. I have been super patient and understanding with her in that regard, but it's also where the issues started. In over a year of dating, the problems have been piling up slowly but surely. I have never gotten my dick fully inside her, not once. It's a tight fit, even when she is fully turned on and wet or using lube. She just simply can't fit it. That's totally fine, and we've talked about it. But it's not the only issue. She has some issues getting into the mood sexually, and foreplay usually lasts 1 to 2 hours with me really leading the charge on it. When she does get turned on enough, and I can get into her, she never lasts more than a minute. She comes so fast, which as a guy may sound like a brag, but it's actually a pretty big issue. When she comes, her body can't handle my dick anymore. Similar to a male orgasm, once she finishes, sex is just over. So there'll be times I have to spend hours turning her on, just to get 30 seconds of sex. In turn, it creates a cycle of embarrassment for her. She thinks of sex as being a personal shortcoming that she wishes she could be better at. I always comfort her afterwards, assuring her it's okay and we'll work through it. Well, after a year of working through it, sex became far less frequent and virtually impossible. She tries occasionally to perform oral, but also can't get very far. She usually caps out at halfway down my dick, and she only tries for about 5 minutes before her jaw gets sore. Then she feels discouraged and therefore less confident in having sex, which kneecaps her sex drive, making sex less frequent again. I have been nothing but supportive when I can be, but it's been wearing on me. Don't get me wrong, it's not that I'm not attracted to my partner. She's actually super fit from doing sports her whole life and has a very healthy lifestyle overall. My hands are all over her when I see her. It's just, sometimes I need my needs fulfilled. Now for my ex, we dated for 8 months, but ultimately had a mutual breakup. She couldn't handle the stress of being in a relationship on top of school and work, and I thought she was pretty emotionally unavailable. But y'all, the sex we would have, unreal. She's the only person I've ever been with that perfectly matched all of my kinks, could handle my dick size, and she had a higher sex drive than me. On top of that, she was on birth control and has a breeding kink, so I could hit raw. And she came easily and could keep going after coming. She literally would require us to fuck any chance we met up. It was her way of relieving stress. Recently, my ex has been messaging me. Nothing too crazy. We stayed friends after breaking up and she knows about my current partner. We send the occasional meme and catch up on current life events. She was telling me about a guy who's been flirting with her at the gym lately. She's a gym rat and asked if we could meet up, give her some advice. I agreed to this, and we decided on a plan where we pick up some sandwiches and then go on a drive, somewhere to eat them. I wanted to tell my current partner about the plan, but hesitated due to her current sexual insecurities. The day arrived and I picked up the sandwiches as asked, and she picked me up in her car. We ended up driving to a really nice and secluded hill that we had frequented many times during our relationship. It was great for stargazing and picnics, and very scenic. Full disclosure, we had fucked on this hill before as well. We get to the top of a hill, no one but us around for miles. She puts down a picnic blanket, and I take out the sandwiches. We had made small talk on the drive, but this was the start of an actual conversation. She started by talking about the guy from the gym. She described him, how much they had talked, and asked what to do. The whole time she talked about this guy, she seemed so disinterested in the situation, which I called out. She said, "Well, I'm just looking for something casual anyways. Nothing too special with him, aka, she just wants to fuck him lol." She then asked me about my partner and how things are going with her. I tell things are going well, and it's a very stable and happy relationship. I paused, and then my ex asked, but I really thought about my next words. I was definitely being influenced by my lack of sexual satisfaction, the fact we were in a spot we had previously fucked, and how hot she looked. She was wearing a white sundress with blue stripes, and it flowed so much in the wind to the point it would lift it up and I'd see her tight ass. But I said what was on my mind, cleanly and honestly. She can't fuck like you can. I then explained the last year of my sex life to her, as she sat patiently listening. Occasionally she'd chime in with a small comment here and there. At the end of it all she said, "So what you're saying is your partner is just wasting this big dick of yours," while rubbing her hand on the crotch of my shorts. We both gave each other a look, knowing what was about to happen. I moved our sandwiches to the edge of the blanket and sat down a lot closer to her, basically on top of her. Without a word, she pulled me in for a kiss, and we started making out passionately. It didn't last long, though, as she unbuttoned and unzipped my shorts and started stroking my dick. I got hard faster than I ever have in my life. She tells me to rip off her underwear, pull up her dress, and take her. I got on top of her, pulled up her dress, and pulled her underwear off in one motion. She asked if I had a condom, just to be safe. She was still on birth control, but understandably worried about me having a recent sexual partner. I pulled out a condom I carry in my wallet, put it on, and we went to town. She was soaking wet, and I slipped right in. I had forgotten how amazing sex can feel, and needed more. We started in missionary, then she rode me, then we fucked doggy style. Forgot to mention this earlier. My current partner can only handle missionary. Any other position hurts too much. She came over and over, and when we went to switch positions again, she ripped the condom off of me and said, "I need you to breed me right now." We do our favorite breeding position, her legs fully up in the air while I hold them, and get as deep as I can into her. Feeling her raw was such a difference, and her telling me to take the condom off was so hot. I needed to come in her. I needed to breed her right there. She comes super hard on me dick, and that's too much for me. I come the hardest I ever have in my life inside of her. I pull out and watch the cum drip out of her. She puts my dick in her mouth to get every last drop, as she did when we were dating too. Then, I got hit with post-nut clarity. I was super conflicted. On the one hand, I was mortified that I had just cheated on my partner. How could I do this to her? And the other half of my brain looked at my ex and said, "When are we doing this again?" Unfortunately, that was the part of my brain that spoke out loud. My ex and I haven't been able to meet up since this happened, and happened back in July due to scheduling conflicts and other issues like that. It's hard to get our schedules to align. We do sex occasionally and recount previous sexual exploits. A few days ago she said she'd be free to meet up again next week. I haven't replied yet, but the date she said actually would work for me. I don't know how to respond. Sex with my partner since July has stagnated, and the last time we fucked 3 weeks ago from this post she came from me entering her. Like, one thrust in. It was the most embarrassed I've ever seen my current partner. She has been spiraling a bit since that happened and is upset she can't satisfy me. Again, I've been as supportive as possible with her. I just don't know what to do. Story 2. My partner cheated with my best friend. I am 32 years old and have been with my 33-year-old partner for 10 years. We have 2 children, an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. I have always believed in building a life with someone, weathering the storms together. We have had our ups and downs over the years, but I think we are solid. A few months ago, I started noticing changes in his behavior. He was distant, guarded with his phone, and often late coming home. Whenever I asked if everything was okay, he brushed it off as stress from work. I wanted to believe him, so I did. Then, last week, my world fell apart. My best friend, whom I've known since college, confessed that she and my partner had been having an affair for the past 6 months. She said she couldn't live with the guilt anymore and thought I deserved to know. I was devastated. Not only did I lose trust in my partner, but also in someone I considered a sister. When I confronted him, he didn't deny it. He apologized profusely, saying it was a mistake and that he wanted to fix our relationship. He claimed that it happened because we had grown distant and he felt neglected. Hearing this felt like a punch to the gut. I had been juggling work, taking care of the kids, and managing the household, all while he was seeking comfort elsewhere. In the midst of our heated conversation, he said things that shook me. He blamed me for not being attentive enough, for being too focused on the kids and not on him. I was stunned by his lack of accountability. Without thinking, I used her clip on my phone to save the last couple of minutes of our conversation. I didn't plan it. It was a reflex. I guess I wanted to have a record of what was said, maybe to make sense of it later. Listening back to that clip, I realized how manipulative he was being, shifting the blame onto me instead of owning up to his actions. It gave me clarity in a moment when everything felt chaotic. Now, he's begging for forgiveness, saying he'll do anything to make it right. But I don't know if I can move past this betrayal, especially since it involves my best friend. I'm also worried about the impact on our children. I never wanted them to grow up in a broken home, but I also don't want to model an unhealthy relationship. I'm at a crossroads and don't know what to do. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How did you handle it? Any advice would be appreciated. Story 3. Virgin college girlfriend, the ultimate cuckold scenario. I never thought a few messages would blow everything up. It was just smoking with another girl, a friend, a harmless hangout. At least, that's what I told myself. But then she found the texts. She wasn't even snooping. She was looking for something else and came across the social media messages. She paused with a concerned look in her face, and it was then I realized what she was looking at. What is this? I froze. She had that look in her eyes, like she was done before I even had a chance to explain. It's not what you think, I blurted out, but I could see she wasn't buying it. The texts were right there, plain as day, me making plans to meet up, to smoke with a girl. Nothing physical happened, but I knew how it looked, and I was willing to do just about anything to ensure she stays with me. Her eyes filled with emotion, tossed my phone onto the couch, and said, "We're done." No hesitation, no second thoughts. She was out the door as I begged her to please stay and talk it out, and all I could do was watch her walk away. Panic set in after that. I called her, texted her, tried explaining, but she wasn't wanting to hearing it. She replies, "I was invited to go to a party tonight." I said no, but now I'm going. Don't wait up for me. I'm going to be out late. Later that night, as she was leaving for the party, I saw what she was wearing. My stomach dropped, and my mind started racing about all the facts and possibilities. She was moving on, already out there, looking hotter than ever, going to a party, and probably getting hit on by every guy in the room. She'd never been one to wear such a revealing outfit coming from a conservative family. But tonight was different. She was making a statement. I wanted to go to the party with her, but I knew I'd be a wreck if I saw her there, surrounded by guys who wouldn't waste a second trying to take my place, and that I no longer had a rightful claim to her. So, I had no choice but to stay in my dorm, hornier than I had ever been. Trying not to think about a bunch of frat guys attempting to deflowering my now ex-girlfriend. Meanwhile, I am alone in the dorm jerking off several times in a row. I couldn't handle it. I tried calling her again. Growing desperate, I leave a voicemail that I'm sure sounded as desperate as I felt. Please, babe, I'll do anything for you to take me back, even if you lost your virginity. Without any thought about what I had just said before I said it, there was no taking that back as I frantically hung up the phone. No response. All I can hope is she didn't hear it. The night grew extremely late. She gets back to the dorms at 7 a.m., a lot happier than when she left, laughing and giggling. Meanwhile, I still have a rock-hard erection thinking about how we've never once had sex, got a blowjob, or even seen her naked, and she just got back from a frat party looking like eye candy. She allows me to walk her inside. She then proceeds to tell me, "I got your voicemail." My heart dropped, and all the blood started to flow down. She tells me her and a guy disappeared upstairs together after the party was setting down, and people were leaving. This guy was also one of several frat boys trying to get a room with her. He was so smooth it didn't take him long at all. He began to remove her dress without resistance from her, and begins to go down on her. She told him she didn't want to go all the way because she just got out of a relationship and wants to wait until marriage. After a while, she says it was too much to resist, and she slowly guides his rock-hard frat dick into her sweet, innocent virgin pussy. Slow and intoxicating sex for almost an hour before coming deep inside her. No condom, no birth control, no regret. She told me she knew I'd do anything to fix things, but she wasn't willing to give me another chance. Despite a complete stranger frat guy takes her virginity for revenge, I'm forced to walk away with nothing but humiliation, a hard dick, and the never-ending thoughts of experiencing the ultimate cuckold scenario. Story 4. Guy on Reddit didn't think I could get his wife to text me anything explicitly, let alone meet up. We ended up hooking up. That being said, I'm 45 and commented on a local NSFW site that I am a bull and couples love it when I come and change their sexual dynamic. A 33-year-old guy said he wanted his 32-year-old wife to have a bull, but she would never agree, especially since I'm older. He and I chatted for a few days. He finally felt comfortable enough with me to give me his wife's FB name. I messaged her and said you are on my suggested friends list, but I'm not sure why. FB must know I love being friends with gorgeous women. She read it but didn't reply for a couple days. Then one evening she said thank you for the compliment but I'm married. I replied I know. I saw your profile, but thought I'd shoot you an innocent compliment. Your husband is a very lucky man. She thanked me again. We made small talk off and on for a couple weeks. I ended up friending her. She accepted. I would comment on her stories with if they were pics of her. Finally, she asked what my story was. I told her I wasn't in a place for an emotional relationship, so I was single and just having fun in life. I told her I'd travel a lot solo, and that intrigued her, as if she'd want to travel with me sometime. I said a girl's trip with a guy, and she laughed and said would be fun, I bet. I asked about her husband. She said she may ask him to feel him out, since he fantasized about swinging a lot. She thought we'd have to come up with a story about how we met. I had been messaging updates to the husband to this point, but I also learned he's a true cuck through and through. So I did what any good bull would do. I stopped updating him. I told her when he's on one of his 12-hour shifts we should practice traveling together, and I got a room at a local hotel. We had room service and we did everything imaginable. She loved every minute of it. I recorded her going down on me and also of me going from behind. She learned she can orgasm multiple times and she can take a much larger guy than her husband, and it felt so much better. When she left, I messaged the videos to the husband. He kind of freaked out. Said he was jealous and upset, but even more so, he was rock hard and horny. I told him to go down on her when he gets home. He cut his work meetings short and came home that night. She came clean to him after he cleaned her. Now I mess with him and tell him she's at my house every day, even if she isn't, just because it turns him on. So, when it comes to seducing women, A good bull isn't just about sex, it's about the entire experience. Next time we meet, we are going to invite him to watch, but I have other plans for him. Story 5. Is it cheating if you no longer have the label but still date each other? I am 22 and my ex is 20. We dated for 2 months. We didn't want to be in a long-distance relationship, but we decided we wanted to be together, so we continued to see each other, but got tired of how much we talked and stuff. Originally, we were going to call each other girlfriend and boyfriend, but we kept getting into arguments about how much we would be able to communicate. She didn't want long distance or really to be in a relationship her senior year, so I decided that we should still see each other with the intention of meeting back up once we're in the same spot. We would be exclusive sexually, but I didn't want to force her in something, so I said if she met someone and wanted to go on a date or talk to someone, that's fine. She just has to let me know. She said that's fair. I said, but if we have sex with anyone or if we pursue a relationship, then we're no longer an item at all and we go no contact. She visited me right after this, smothered me with affection, and said she loved me. She got upset I didn't hold her hand at all concert. After she left, we didn't talk much over 6 days. We had a 2-hour phone call. She said she missed me. I said I missed her too. The day after this, she said we needed to talk. I said okay. She told me she had slept with someone the night before. I responded that we're done. She didn't understand and said BC I didn't want a label, we're not BF, GF, and she's allowed to sleep with other people. I said that's not what we agreed upon. She said she thought it was just relationships that we couldn't pursue. She flipped back and forth about things. She said she has physical needs that must be met. She also said she believed we were in talking stage now, and in talking stages you're allowed to sleep with other people. I said we can't hook up with people. She responded, it wasn't a hookup. Hookups are with strangers. This was a friend of a friend. I said okay, then you're pursuing a relationship? She said she isn't romantically involved. She talked to him before we met, but it's only physical with him. I said we were done and that I'd need time and space to think if we're going to be friends. She said she was there for me if I needed her. A week later, I reached out. I told her she hurt me, but I wish her the best and hope she's okay. She responded that she was doing great and then went off about how she felt undervalued and didn't like how I lashed out at her once or twice over her miscommunication. She also said that she's sorry I was hurt for unclear expectations. Was all of this cheating? What on earth is the mindset of someone like this? Summary: girl 20 by 22 was seeing slept with someone else. We didn't have a label anymore, but we still dated. Is it cheating? Story 6. My boyfriend cheated on me and told me this 2 years later, and I feel guilty for leaving him now. We met in college and we became friends. We used to get along together, and then he proposed to me to be his GF, and I said yes, only to know that 2 months later he's going to cheat on me. He comes up to me all of a sudden during our 2nd month of the relationship, and he started crying a lot. After asking numerous times, he told me that he accidentally kissed his ex during a school reunion party. I felt really bad, but the way we were, I genuinely felt that it was an accidental kiss. He said his ex tried to kiss him, and he pushed her away. I was heartbroken, but seeing him cry, I felt he really might have not done it. With a heavy heart, I trusted on him. I was heartbroken, but I still never brought my broken feelings in front of him. I tried to understand him, and I thought to make him feel less guilty of what he has done, as I really thought he was innocent. With time, we sailed through that. He did a lot for me. He used to give me many things. He used to write letters, give flowers. He was always available whenever I needed him. He always put me first. He used to cook for me. He did all the things that I wanted and I loved. He used to take my words seriously, and whatever I used to say, things used to happen according to me and my will. With time, we sailed through that. He did a lot for me. He used to give me many things. He used to write letters, give flowers. He was always available whenever I needed him. He always put me first. He used to cook for me. He did all the things that I wanted and I loved. He used to take my words seriously, and whatever I used to say, things used to happen according to me and my will. We were not physically close, but we were more like friends. We used to have fun and laugh around. We used to study together. I once told him that I cannot be physically close, and he accepted it easily. He never said anything nor tried to do anything. We lived like the way I wanted. 2 years later, he comes up to me and tells me that he had some history with one of his cousins, and I felt very uncomfortable hearing about it. At this point, I could have judged him. I really felt unacceptable of that behavior. But then I was like, no, it was his past, and we are not living in the past anymore, so I let that go. Although I couldn't help myself, but feel hurt. 3 weeks later, he comes up to me and tells me that he never had an ex. The story he told me about him accidentally kissing his ex was fake. He tells me that the girl was his same cousin, and it wasn't a kiss, but something more than that. They did everything. I cannot tell you how hurt and shattered I was. I was the one who saw the good in him, trusted him even when I shouldn't have. He was the last person from whom I would have expected this, but maybe I was too blind to see the wrong in him because clearly his pattern speaks for itself. As soon as I heard this, I knew I cannot be with this person anymore. I left him. He not only cheated on me, he betrayed me. He was dishonest towards the very person who always cared for him and believed in him. Now I have broken up with him because it doesn't fit with me. It was so hard for me to take that step. It may sound easy, but it was the toughest. We have been together since 2 years, and he knew everything, yet he chose to do this. I what he was thinking, and he says he loves me. Well, love never cheats. Somewhere I feel like he did all of that in guilt, all the good behavior. He told me he was scared to tell me, so he lied, telling me fake stuff because he always wanted to be honest somewhere. The thing is that I feel guilty for leaving him even though I'm not wrong. Every day I cry and feel bad that he has done so many things for me, and at the end of the day I had to leave him. What must he be feeling? Even today I'm just caring about him and not myself, and I really don't know how to get past from this. In my heart I just feel he has done things I'm grateful for, and I truly value that, but he didn't even value me enough and did this to me. I don't know what to do and how to stop feeling guilty. I'm so not good. Story 7. Discovered I got cheated on the day of moving in a new country with my boyfriend. Hello, for context, I 20F and my now ex 20 meters were together for about 3 years. We met through mutual friends and we clicked immediately and got together a week after our first meeting. I was his first girlfriend ever, and I always knew he was curious and kind of wanted to have other experiences, but I never thought he would cheat on me, as I thought he was a very honest person with a lot of principles. About 8 months after we started dating, I moved to NYC for my studies. We both lived in France prior to that. He decided he wanted to try long distance, and I agreed as we were very in love. By that time, I introduced him to one of my friends that we will call Julie. Julie and the two of us, before my departure from New York, got pretty close. And my boyfriend mentioned he would like to have a threesome, which I agreed for, and so did my friend. I was a bit uncomfortable with the idea, but I knew he needed to experience things and was okay as long as it was with me. However, we never found a time to do it before I moved to the US, and when I came back to France for Christmas, he confessed that he had slept with her the day before coming to visit me in uni. I was devastated. He said it was because there was a lot of sexual tension caused by the threesome we never had, and I stupidly gave him another chance. He was crying and saying how I was the love of his life and giving me his word it would never happen again. The trauma that caused me lasted for over 2 years, and I could not stop thinking about it and about my ex-friend. Started to develop eating disorders and always comparing myself to other women. But I trusted that he would never do it again. I knew he had a flirty personality, and that bothered me a lot. He would literally flirt with every woman he has an interaction with. Now fast forward 2 years. I graduated from my school in the US, and me and my boyfriend managed to handle long distance. I was going to move to London to do my master's, and after telling me he was miserable at his job and that he needed to go back to studies, I asked him if he wanted to come with me. He auditioned for the same school as me in a different section and got accepted. For the whole summer I prepared our move and did all the paperwork, found an apartment, called every landlord possible, everything. He said he couldn't do anything and could not give me any time or attention because he needed to make a lot of money and work a lot to afford to pay the school, which I understood, and I gave him all the time he needed over the summer, even though we haven't seen each other's for 3 months. He said he will only be focused on me when we move in London. I was stressed out doing all the paperwork for 2 people, and he was constantly hesitate if he actually wanted to leave or not, making me stop some apartment hunting, etc. The whole summer he switched from being distant, insulting me, etc., to telling how impatient he was to move and start a new life with me. 3 weeks before we were supposed to move to London, he started going religiously to the swimming pool because he said he needed to do some sports and having a physical job that would help him with back pain. He rapidly mentioned that a 30-year swimming instructor flirted with him, and he proudly said he rejected her, saying that he couldn't because he had a girlfriend. I knew he entertained that girls flirt, and I gave an ultimatum saying that if he wanted us to truly move together, he needed to stop flirting with other women and disrespect me, especially with his history of cheating. I was done. We got in a fight, and he said how he was 20 who needed to empty his balls, that he was good looking and loved attention. After that fight, I said we were done, and he came back crying, apologizing, and literally made a vow, pouring a water bottle over his head, that he will never do that again, that if he ever disrespected me, he will be the one to leave, that he could not lose me, etc., etc. I believed him. After that promise, he said he truly needed to work day and night for the last 2 weeks in France and couldn't see me as much. He kept going to the swimming pool every day, and one day I went to the pool inauguration, and when I arrived, a girl was sitting next to him and left immediately after seeing me. I thought it was weird, but at the same didn't question anything, as he never mentioned her, and the 30-year girl who was flirting with him was not even there. Fast forward the day before departure, we were moving out by car and planned a 17-hour drive with all our stuff. He said he went to say goodbye to all the staff at the swimming pool, and then he came to my place, did not even say hi, and said he wanted to have sex with me. I thought he was just horny, and I dressed cute, but the sex was very primitive and violent. Again, I did not question him. The day of the move out, I was happy to start this new life with him. We get in the car, and I start playing some music. 2 hours into the drive, everything is fine. He seems happy and excited, and I decide to go on Snapchat to answer some of his followers. He has 5,000 Snap friends through quick ads because he makes vlog about his life. Most of them are gay men, and that always amused me to talk to some of them who were telling my BF how hot he was. Among more than 500 snaps, I see a girl with the best friend emoji, and I click on it. Let's call her Marie. I read the conversation, and I get the stomach drop. What I saw was basically him telling her, "Thank you for stopping me yesterday. I would have ruined my integrity and morals, but gosh, I'm gonna miss those dirty words." She said, "Thank you for the flowers, darling. At least you will have beautiful scenarios for London." And he said, "Yeah, you know how good my imagination is." Then they proceeded to say how they will do an update when he finishes his school year in London and see where they both are. I felt betrayed, felt like I was gonna throw up. I show him the messages, and he becomes white. He explained to me he never talked to me about this girl because they met 3 weeks ago, and they clicked. At first it was just friendly, but then she started saying things like, "Can you keep a secret? Drive to my house, and I'll make you come 3 times or more," things like this. He tried to stop himself, but then the tension got even worse. He started having fantasies about her, etc. When he made me the vow, he thought, "I'm gonna fuck that girl, and then I'm gonna keep my promise to my girlfriend." He said it was sexual, but also kind of emotional, even though he never considered leaving me for her and never felt the same way he felt about me. I cried, and we stopped at a station. I called his best friend in tears, who was also mine, and he helped me on the next things to do, saying my BF could leave me at the station, he could come pick me up, and then I could take a plane to go to London. It was so complicated, I just decided to sit through the trip. I didn't say anything to my parent, for whom my boyfriend was a son to them. I lied to my mom during the trip, saying I was fine, and my BF was happy, and all I did was cry and question him. Once we arrived in London, we had to move in our apartment, and no one had another place to sleep. He tried to win me back a lot of times, apologizing, said he ruined everything, that he was self-sabotaging himself, and that he didn't go through with fucking her. I was devastated and started my freshers week as a total wreck. We paid 6 months' rent in advance for our apartment. I offered to pay him back his part so he could move out, but he refused. I had no other choice but to go back to France and defer my studies because I knew I could not handle doing a master with him at the school every day and in that accommodation situation. He started flirting with other girls during Freshers' Week while we were still living under the same roof. I explained everything to my parent, and they were devastated. 2 days ago, after 2 weeks of cohabiting, he brought back the car to France with all my stuff, and I took a plane. We left each other's very emotionally on Friday, and yesterday I found out he went back to the swimming pool and saw Marie. When he came to my house to give me back my belongings, he was cold, said he wanted to get me off his mind. I cried and asked why would he go back to her when it was the only thing I asked not to do. He said things with her might happen in the next few days before he moves back to England on Wednesday. I was shocked and broken on how he could do this when 2 days ago he was crying, saying he will work on himself in order to marry me one day when he feels like he deserves me. I don't sleep or eat. My whole dream and career are shattered to pieces because of him, and all he did was come back to the woman he lost everything because of. Do you think he was in love? He assured me he wasn't. Did he ever have consideration for me? I need to take a gap year now before going back to do my master in 2025. I feel lonely. I moved back with my parents, and I've never felt so little and depressed.